Welcome back to another episode of the Dorky. I have been talking to ChatGPT about a few things that's been on my mind, I have to say. I have had these thoughts kind of cross my mental doorways, pathways before. And I've been wondering, is ectoplasm a real thing? And does it have anything to do with the four humors? She says that ectoplasm was kind of invented after the humors, which in my brain kind of says that it kind of replaced the humors. But maybe like ectoplasm was real, like when they were talking about humors, and they were just kind of trying to tell people, well, you may discredit our medicine, but believe it or not, these ectoplasms were very real. You know, nobody was there. Or maybe people still see ectoplasm, but I guess when it comes to like phlegm and sanguine, caloric, melancholy, um, the four humors, I could imagine it being like very real, like spiritually medium, like so basically like ectoplasm is like this phlegm, I guess, that comes out of the mouth or the eyes, and that sounds like a very humorous concept to me, and I don't mean like funny, but guess what I'm trying to say is um, I could kind of imagine that being real. I don't care if they don't believe in the ancient medicine, or I mean, actually, I think other countries do still practice the four humors by trying to remove like black bile, yellow bile from our bodies. So I still kind of believe in the four humors, but when you describe it like ectoplasm, I want to believe in the four humors again. Um, but anyway, so that's real. I mean, it is. It should be. Maybe it was. But anyway, so another thing we talked about, I just wanted to know, like, do we have the ability to produce or create our own quantum little bugs in space, or do we have the ability to produce and create subatomic quantum particles? Like we can actually make little bugs and stuff. They have the dots and everything. They got quantum. They can produce them, and at some point in time, they're going to be able to like. They're we're kind of pointing at the idea that these little quantum bugs can evolve once we create these quantum computers. Um, Once we get these quantum computers going, the shift is going to be towards like creating quantum objects, like massive. Like think about like these, like, uh, like hive mentality, quantum mechanics, and subatomic, or even normal space. I mean, the idea behind uh, quantum particles is that they're not real, right? They're not real unless you can actually capture them. Like Hawking says that they could be captured by like the rim of a black hole or something, and then they become like real after that. But we can actually create quantum objects of our own already. So I mean that makes them real anyway. And she talked about these objects in a vacuum. Now, the trend for science today is developing a kind of like zero vacuum for our hydrogen colliders. A zero hydrogen collider. Well, the zero hydrogen collider is supposed to operate in space, which is great if you're trying to capture things like muons. And everybody knows what a muon. This is kind of what my podcast is going to be about anyway. The muons. The muons are these little particles, subatomic particles, that come from the cosmic rays of the sun, exploding suns, cosmic rays. And when they're traveling faster than the speed of light, they live like a lot longer than just 2 microseconds or something. So the point is that they're alive, right? And they enter our atmosphere. These cosmic rays enter our atmosphere, and they are alive for like a microsecond, which tells me something about time and space dilation. But they decay, they go away. Um, anyway, so the idea in the future is to create these traps. Like after we get to the point where we can actually make, faster than light hydrogen colliders, I guess the point is that we could create something like a trap. And this trap, I read about this trap in a book called The Morning of the Magicians. It basically talks about this experiment where we can create these kind of like time shelves, right, in the fourth dimension, like these little drawers of time. And what happens is you get this like apparatus, and you capture these muons in this like glass ring, and you start spinning them, faster than the speed of light, and they enter like a point where, like, after you travel faster than the speed of light, you go to the fourth dimension where time supposedly doesn't exist. And if you could spin these little muons so fast in one of these like little, vacuum zeros, and I'd have to do it in space too because they're already subatomic particles. Why not put them in a zero space collider, which would make sense to trap them? But then you could actually view consciousness, right? Because they only live for 2 microseconds. So, in other words, if we could put them in a little time drawer, like the fourth dimension, supposedly you could observe consciousness because they would live, for maybe like minutes or hours. We could observe these little muons, these little particles, to kind of like, and we could kind of talk about more about consciousness. So I guess once we get to a point where science can understand theoretical consciousness, that's when we start like understanding things that are beyond the ancient and Einstein, weirdos. So Einstein believes, and the ancients, they always believed that there's a eternal presence. The present is eternal. So once we get past the speed of light, we can kind of go, outside the normal box of thinking and start understanding that the fact is that precognition is real. We can predict the future. I don't care if you believe in the future or not, or the past, or the present, but the point is that precognition means that we can predict the future, right? So imagine going down a stream, and you can see like everything before you even the whole entire you travel your whole life to this little thread of reality, and you travel your whole life, and you already know what's going to happen to you. A lot of people believe that that's real. I believe it. I predict things sometimes, and I have precognition. That's a fact. But why don't we understand it? Are we slaves to Einstein's theories? Are the ancients pulling all the strings? If they don't believe it, if they don't get to believe in it, I guess we don't get to believe in it. Are we being territorial about precognition, normalizing the time and space territorial threats? So I did have a quote for you. It says that science without consciousness spells ruin, but also consciousness without science also does spell ruin. So the point is I want to get to that conversation where we're talking about theoretical consciousness. I want to get to this point. I hope to see things in the future that are beyond our understanding of time and space. We need to reach the speed of light. I guess that's so important. That's like the trend, right? The trend, and all these weird little commercials we see on our Google page. The real trend is trying to figure out, and they need to organize themselves. Like, tell us what the trend is and just leave us alone until you figure out something that's actually notable, like faster than speed or quantum computing for real. We need to capture. I guess the idea is like after the hydrogen collider, we need to trap things. We need to try to trap the glitches in the matrix. We gotta try to trap. We're gonna be like little Ghostbusters in the future, trying to